ChatGPT said, one of the most overlooked signs that someone likes you more than you think is when they start prioritizing you in these subtle, almost imperceptible ways. I'm not talking about grand romantic gestures or big declarations of love. I'm talking about the little things. The kinds of things that are so quiet, so small that they're easy to miss if you're not paying close attention. Because here's the truth. When someone is genuinely interested in you, it shows up in how they move through their day. It shows up in the effort they make. Not when it's convenient for them, but when it's not. When someone likes you more than you think, they don't just respond to your messages when they're bored. They carve out space for you. They find ways to bring you into their world, even if it's just sending you a funny meme that reminded them of you, or checking in on you when you've had a rough day. They do it naturally, not because they have to, but because they want to. We often mistake consistency for friendship. We think, well, he's just being nice, or he's a good guy, that's just who he is. And sure, that might be part of it. But here's the thing, people don't consistently prioritize others unless there's something meaningful driving it. That good guy isn't checking in with all his friends when they're sick. He's not rearranging his weekend to see everyone. But for you, somehow, he finds the time. And you might think it's just coincidence, or you might tell yourself not to read into it too much, but deep down, something feels different about the way he shows up for you. Let's say you've had a long, stressful week, and you casually mention it to him. Maybe you didn't even make a big deal out of it, just dropped it in conversation. And the next day, he shows up with your favorite drink, or texts you just to say, I hope today's better. That's not just someone who's being polite. That's someone who's tuned in to your emotions, who's paying attention, and who wants you to feel supported. And that right there, that's someone who's making you a priority. Now, here's where it gets tricky. Sometimes, the people who like us the most are the ones who try the hardest not to overwhelm us. He might not shower you with compliments or talk about his feelings all the time. In fact, he might play it cool. But underneath that coolness, he's quietly creating space in his life for you. He's not telling you he likes you. He's showing you. In the way he remembers what matters to you. In the way he listens when you speak. In the way he includes you in things that are important to him. And sometimes the biggest clue is what he gives up. Think about it. People guard their time like treasure. If he's choosing to spend his time with you, even when he could be doing other things, especially when he could be doing other things, that says a lot. That's not about availability. That's about priority. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if he really liked me, he'd say something. But what if he's already saying it, just not in words? Or what if he's saying it every time he stays up later just to talk to you? Every time he goes out of his way to see you, even if it's just for a short while. Every time he shows up in ways that are quiet but consistent, we miss it because we're looking for fireworks. We're waiting for some big, undeniable signal. But real connection, the kind that lasts, it's not always loud. Sometimes it's a guy who shows up 5 minutes early just so you're not waiting. Sometimes it's someone who walks you to your car even when it's cold out. It's someone who texts you after a long day just to say, did you make it home okay? And when someone does those things, we have to start giving them credit. We have to stop brushing it off as just being nice and recognize it for what it is. Someone saying, you matter to me, even if they haven't found the courage or the clarity to say it out loud yet. So if you've got someone in your life who's doing all of this, don't ignore it. Don't undervalue it. Because when someone quietly, consistently make space for you in their life, even when they don't have to. That's not random. That's not casual. That's intentional. That's real. That's someone who likes you more than you think. There's something so powerful about what people say without ever opening their mouths. You can learn so much about how someone feels just by observing them, really observing them. We live in a world that puts a lot of emphasis on words, but the truth is, words are easy. They can be filtered, rehearsed, edited. But body language, that's raw, it's real, it slips out when we're not thinking. It reveals what we're actually feeling, even when we're trying to keep it together on the surface. You might be talking to a guy who hasn't said outright that he likes you, hasn't made a move, hasn't declared anything, and yet something in your gut is telling you he feels more than he's letting on. That feeling you have, it's probably coming from the signals his body is giving off. And once you start noticing those signals, you realize just how loud silence can be. Think about the way he looks at you. Not just when you're talking to him directly, but those moments when you glance over and catch him already looking at you. Not a glance he quickly turns away from out of boredom or distraction, but the kind of gaze that lingers. The kind where he holds eye contact for just a second too long. That's not nothing. People don't look at others like that unless there's something more going on inside. Then there's proximity. Watch how close he chooses to be. In a group setting, where does he stand or sit? Is he finding small, subtle ways to close the distance between you two? Maybe it's brushing shoulders in a crowd or leaning in just a little more than necessary when you're speaking. Those aren't coincidences. That's his body leaning toward what it wants, even if his brain hasn't figured out what to do with it yet. People are drawn to the things they're emotionally invested in. We lean toward what we like. We mirror what we feel connected to. That's another clue. Mirroring. Or when someone starts unconsciously mimicking your movements, your posture, your energy, it's because they're sensing with you on a deeper level. You raise your glass, he raises his. You cross your legs, he follows a few moments later. You laugh and he laughs, sometimes even before he fully understands what you said. That's not him being polite. That's a subtle dance happening underneath the surface, and it's all emotion-driven. Even things like how often he touches his face, adjusts his clothes, or runs his hand through his hair when he's around you, those are signs of nervous energy. When we're around someone we're attracted to, our body reacts. We become more aware of how we look, how we sound, how we're being perceived. So when you notice him fixing his jacket or checking his reflection in a window when he knows he's going to see you, that's his body trying to rise to the occasion. That's his nerves reminding him that you matter. And when he talks to you, how does he position his body? Are his feet pointing toward you? Is his torso angled in your direction? Is he fully present? Or is his body turned halfway toward the exit? Because here's the thing, where the body points, the heart follows. Someone who likes you, truly likes you, is going to face you, not just physically, but emotionally. His posture, his focus, his gestures, they'll all align like his whole system is quietly saying, I'm here with you right now. Of course, sometimes the signs aren't even about what he does, but what he doesn't do. Maybe he gets a little quiet around you, not because he's disinterested, but because he's overthinking, because suddenly he's self-conscious in a way he's not with other people. He's not trying to impress you with big moves. He's trying not to mess up. And in that effort, sometimes his words might fumble, or he might seem distracted. But his body still gives him away. It still orients toward you. It still seeks out moments of closeness. It still lights up in subtle ways when you walk into the room. And don't overlook the way he responds to your body language too. If he's attuned to your shifts in energy, if he leans in when you seem low, backs off when you seem overwhelmed, notices when you're uncomfortable and adjusts without being told, that's not just someone being polite. That's someone who's deeply aware of you. That's someone whose emotional radar is locked in, even if he hasn't said a word about how he feels. We don't always realize it, but our bodies speak volumes. Or they speak for us when we're scared, when we're hesitant, when we're unsure of what the other person feels. But they don't lie. And when you start paying attention to his body language, the way he looks at you, how often he finds his way into your space, the small signs of nervousness or attentiveness, you'll start to see a pattern, a language that doesn't need to be translated. So, before you tell yourself he's just being friendly or convince yourself it's all in your head, take a moment. Watch what he's not saying. Because if you look closely, his body might already be telling you everything you need to know. That's someone who likes you more than you think. ChatGPT said, there's a moment that happens sometimes in the early stages of connection, before anything's official, before anyone's said the words, and it's subtle, but powerful. It's when he hears you talking about another guy. Maybe it's someone at work, maybe someone you bumped into recently, or someone who's just a friend. And suddenly, his energy shifts. He gets quiet for a second, maybe asks a few questions he wouldn't normally ask, or his tone changes. It's not dramatic, it's not confrontational, but it's different. That moment, that's jealousy, just a little flicker of it. And believe it or not, it can tell you a lot. Now, I want to be really clear. What I'm talking about here isn't the possessive, controlling kind of jealousy. That's not attractive. That's insecurity disguised as attention, and it has no place in a healthy relationship. What I'm talking about is something else entirely. It's the kind of quiet, restrained jealousy that slips out when someone likes you more than they're letting on, but hasn't quite figured out what to do with those feelings yet. It's that moment of discomfort, not because he doesn't trust you, but because the thought of you with someone else suddenly hits him harder than he expected. It's a guy who's been playing it cool, maybe even too cool, until the possibility of another guy enters the picture, and suddenly he's interested more. He wants to know more. He's a little more attentive, a little more aware of the fact that someone else could see what he sees in you. And it's in that moment you realize, oh, he cares, maybe more than I thought. You might notice it in the questions he asks. Like, so, who was that guy you were with? Or, is he just a friend? Or, and he might throw it out casually like it's no big deal. But listen to the space between the words. That's not just curiosity. That's a man measuring the threat. He's trying to figure out what your connection to this other person means, whether he still has space in your life, or if someone else is slowly edging him out. Sometimes it's not even about the words. It's about how quickly he changes the subject afterward, or how he suddenly makes an effort to show up more, to text first, to suggest meeting up. It's almost as if the idea of someone else stepping in lit a little fire under him. And that's not manipulation. It's just emotion. It's a very human reaction when we realize we might lose something we haven't fully claimed yet. And that's the key. He hasn't claimed you, at least not officially. Maybe because he wasn't sure how you felt. Maybe because he didn't want to risk the friendship, or because the timing didn't seem right. But now, suddenly, there's this moment where it becomes clear to him if he doesn't make a move, someone else might. And sometimes that's exactly what pushes him to stop sitting on the fence. Now, some of you might think, if he likes me, why does it take another guy to wake him up? And that's a fair question. But the truth is, most people don't fully realize what they want until they're confronted with the possibility of losing it. It's not because he didn't value you before, it's because he hadn't processed the depth of his feelings. That spark of jealousy, that's his clarity arriving, whether he likes it or not. And sometimes that little spark is all you need to confirm what you've been sensing all along, that he looks at you a little differently, and/or that he listens more closely than he needs to, that he's always sort of around, even if there's no official reason to be. It's just that, up until now, he's kept it all contained. But jealousy, real, respectful jealousy, has a way of making everything rise to the surface. You might even notice him become a bit more vocal after this. Compliments that were once vague become more direct. Invitations that were casual become intentional. The way he engages with you shifts from playful to purposeful. It's not about being territorial, it's about becoming aware of what he feels and finally acting on it. That's why it's important not to dismiss those little moments. Don't write them off as ego or assume he's just reacting out of habit. Because if you look closely, that quiet, momentary jealousy can be one of the clearest indicators that he likes you more than he's been willing to admit, even to himself. That's someone who likes you more than you think. One of the strongest, most revealing signs that someone likes you more than you think has nothing to do with physical affection, dramatic gestures, or even constant compliments. It's emotional investment. And more often than not, it shows up quietly, without needing a label, without a conversation, without either of you even realizing what's happening in the moment. But it's there, and it's powerful. When a guy starts to emotionally invest in you, he begins to treat your thoughts, your experiences, your feelings like they matter deeply to him. Not just in passing, not just when he's bored or has nothing else going on, but as something consistent, something real. You'll notice it in the way he listens to you. Not just hears you, but listens. He remembers the things you say, even the small details you barely noticed you mentioned. You might bring up something random in conversation, some childhood memory, something that made you anxious last week, a goal you've been quietly working toward, and weeks later, he brings it up again. That's not just good memory, that's emotional presence. That's someone who cares. And what's so interesting is that sometimes the guys who are most emotionally invested are the ones who aren't rushing to define things. They're not pushing for a label. They're not overwhelming you with declarations of love, but they're there, fully there. They check in. They support you when things go wrong. They encourage you when you doubt yourself. They celebrate your wins, even the small ones, and they do all this without expecting something in return. That's the thing people miss. When a guy likes you more than you think, he's not just trying to impress you. He's showing up for you. In real ways, in quiet ways. He might ask how your day went and actually listen to the answer. He might open up to you about something he normally keeps private. He might start trusting you with parts of himself that he doesn't reveal to just anyone. That level of vulnerability is a huge deal. Because we don't open up to people we don't care about. We don't risk being seen, really seen, unless we feel safe. Unless something about that person feels like home. If he's starting to confide in you, not just with surface level stuff, but with things that reveal who he really is. His fears, his past, his family, the things he's working through. It's because he's not just looking at you as someone he's attracted to. He's seeing you as someone who matters, someone he wants in his corner. That's emotional intimacy, and it usually comes before any official conversation about what are we. It sneaks up before the title, before the commitment. But emotionally, he's already chosen you. Sometimes it's also about how he reacts when you're going through something. Does he disappear when you're having a hard time? Or does he lean in? Does he give you space when you need it, but stay close enough to show he's there? That balance is important. It shows emotional maturity. He's not trying to fix everything for you, but he wants to be someone you can lean on. He's invested in your peace. He's invested in your happiness. And here's what's really beautiful about this emotional investment. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to come with some Instagram-worthy moment. It often lives in the in-between, those quiet messages that check in on you without an agenda, those moments where he listens just a little longer than he has to, those conversations that go deeper than surface level because he's not afraid to let you in, and he's not afraid to step into your world. You might be wondering, but if he's that invested, why hasn't he made a move yet? And honestly, there could be a lot of reasons. Timing, fear, uncertainty about how you feel. Maybe he doesn't want to ruin the connection by rushing it. Maybe he's still figuring out what this means for him. But none of that erases what's already happening, because emotional investment is hard to fake. And once it's there, it's only a matter of time before everything else catches up. When a guy starts showing you through his actions that he cares about your inner world, your emotions, your struggles, your goals, it's not just about him being a nice guy. It's about him seeing you, valuing you, wanting to be someone you can count on, long before any labels or romantic milestones come into play. And when you find yourself wondering where you stand with him, don't just look at what he said. Look at what he's given. The space in his life he's made for you. The emotional weight he's allowed you to carry. The consistency he's shown without needing a relationship status to justify it. That's someone who likes you more than you think.